I have a question for you. What does this stoic, woodland statue have in common with this rambunctious, cute, crazy dog? Well, they're both things I encountered during my Thanksgiving trip to San Antonio, Texas. After I spent some quality time with my family, which of course includes this cute, crazy dog, I decided to head out into the wilderness and see some of what San Antonio had to offer. The first creatures I encountered were these pretty-looking flowers, and when I took a look at them under the microscope, I saw that they were absolutely filled with pollen. Where there's pollen, of course, there's plenty of pollinators. I ran into all sorts of butterflies that were magnetized to these flowers, absolutely picking over them, and in the process, taking up pollen and bringing it from flower to flower. Just what the plants want. But this wasn't the only powdery substance the butterflies were carrying. If you take a close look at a butterfly wing, you'll actually see it's covered with microscopic scales. These scales are what give butterflies their psychedelic colors. Some of these colors are formed from pigments, while others come from microscopic structures within the scales that give off certain colors when they come into contact with light. In addition, the scales serve as an emergency form of defense. If a butterfly is ever unlucky enough to run into a spider's web, these scales will actually detach, allowing the butterfly to escape. When you see that powdery substance on your hands after you've picked up or played with a butterfly, that's those scales that we've been looking at so far. Now, before we move on, there's one more thing I need to show you. Do you see it yet? How about now? Ladies and gentlemen, I can't be entirely sure, but this looks to be some sort of microscopic mite or maggot. Entomologists, feel free to weigh in. But there's potentially a logical explanation for this. This butterfly is dead. That's the only way I was able to film it under the microscope, so that might have been a maggot. That's pretty gross. You know what isn't gross? Goral Memorial Park. I actually enjoyed this place quite a bit. It's where I got the majority of my shots this Thanksgiving. The park is named after Edwin J. Goral. The park is a beautiful memorial and also a hotspot for wildlife. Following an eerie evening call, I walked along the bank of a stream until I ran into this big bird sitting high in this tree. To be honest, I could have watched this great horned owl watching me for hours, or at least 30 minutes before I got bored. Not that I had a whole lot of time to be filming. It was actually getting pretty dark, and seeing as this is a neighborhood filled with people and wildlife I didn't know, it might have been time to get out of the woods before it got dark. Luckily, the owl decided it had had enough. Growing uncomfortable with our staring match, the owl decided to split, making it a good time for me to leave as well, though I'm sure the owl kept an eye on me as I walked away. But before I left, I decided to put my nose to the ground one more time, catching sight of some interesting invertebrates hiding under the leaf litter, swimming their way through the soil in search of prey. And if we take an even closer look at this earthy environment, we come into contact with a truly hardy member of the animal kingdom. These tardigrades, also known as water bears, squirm their way across wet soil, moss, and lichen, looking for microscopic food like these tiny nematodes. A mixture of cute and mildly disgusting, these water bears were definitely one of the highlights of my trip, second to the owl, of course. Now, before we end this video, there's one more thing we have to see. None of my wildlife vlogs would be complete without me dipping my hand in some dubious-looking ditch water. And there was a lot to see. I'll be honest, I don't know what I was really seeing, but there was certainly a lot of it. Perhaps I should have gone to school to be a microbiologist, but my college loans are pretty high already. Looks like we're nearing the 5-minute mark with this video, so that's all for this week. If you want to see more of my work, check out my website or my various forms of social media, which are being shown on the screen right now and are linked to below this video. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week.